once that that last engine, the second stage, shuts off, and everything gets quiet,
ground gas closeouts is
and
starting.
they're in weightlessness, that's when we can say it's a successful launch. We're looking forward to that time. But those 8.5 minutes, we need to really pay attention.
Thank you, Mike. And once again, as Mike said earlier in our show, they will be accelerating from 0 to 17,500 miles an hour in only 8 minutes. It's truly mind-boggling, that thrust, that 1.8 million pounds of thrust. As we get down to 1 minute, we're going to lay out. We're going to listen to launch control communicating with Doug and Bob.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Crew capsule.
Dragon is in countdown.
Good luck, gentlemen.
FTS is armed for launch.
You've heard it all there. They are armed for launch. The fueling is done. Now 45 seconds comes
Dragon,
the go.
SpaceX, go for launch.
That is the launch director. They are ready to go. We are getting very close to T-minus 30 seconds. And you will hear a number of instructions.
T-minus 30 seconds.
A number of instructions to them once we take off. Space Launch Live. First time in nearly a decade. American astronauts on an American spacecraft.
Stage 1 tanks pressing for flight.
American
T-minus
soil.
15 seconds.
And here comes the countdown
10,
now.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal. Nominal. M1D throttle down.
That throttle down call is because they are getting ready to the most aerodynamic stressful part of this flight. So they take the power down just slightly.
There is the
Listen for max
1,000 kilometers per hour mark. That's 621 miles per hour.
So the vehicle is supersonic.
M1D throttle up.
They're throttling up. There's max Q, the max aerodynamic pressure peak, the most mechanical stress on the rocket. As I look up, and we can still see the orange glow, and I tell you what, it took 5 seconds for the vibration and sound from that liftoff to affect this here. You can still see it just screaming almost straight up, even though they're pointing a little bit downrange now.
Start of MVAC engine chill.
Approaching rapidly 3,000 kilometers per hour. That is 1,864 miles per hour.
And Chris, while you see that plume coming out of the back expanding, that's because there's not as much atmospheric pressure on it. So that's why it expands out like that. And we are getting, that first stage engine is going to fire for about another 20 seconds, 23 seconds or so.
And Christian, that is really a step that we want to pay attention to, that separation of the first stage that will then return back to Earth.
Yeah, we're going to get very busy here in about 5 seconds. You're going to see MECO, the main engine cut off, and then you're going to see the separation. And we're standing by for that.
MECO.
Falcon stage separation confirmed.
So the main shut down, and you see separation there too. That is the first stage falling away.
See also
now the second stage is going to fire.
Leaving the stage 2. They're now approaching 7,000 kilometers per hour, which is 4,049 miles per hour.
Now the thing to watch now, Chris, is that first stage. It's going to be
nominal.
That means that's good news. That's the rocket that's still on the Dragon, is doing its job, moving these guys into an orbit that'll put about 200 kilometers below the space station. And you can actually see that second photo. It's great to see inside. There's the triple screen of the two astronauts. The Dragon and the Falcon are basically, actually it's the second stage now, are on autonomous power. But Chris, we really want to pay attention to that first stage. As Davenport says, it's a secondary mission, but it sure is cool to watch it land on that ship out in the Atlantic.
Quickly approaching 8,000 kilometers per hour, which is nearly 5,000 miles per hour. They are really moving. And Bob and Doug appearing very, very cool, calm, and collected in the Dragon capsule. Amazing to get that live shot of what they're experiencing right now. Want to bring in Mike Massimino. Mike, take us through what Bob and Doug are going through.
Stage 2 propulsion is still nominal.
Yeah, they are so well trained for this, Chris. They've had countless simulations, played everything, every emergency possible, and they're just looking and looking and hoping and praying that everything's going well. And it looks like it is. I know that first stage we're going to be excited to see that, but the world that Bob and Doug are living in is just making sure that that engine is continuing to burn, that they're still on the right trajectory. All the systems are looking good, and it looks like they are. As we see them just watching, that's probably a good sign. That means all the automatic sequences are working well. We don't hear too much chatter coming from the control center, from MCC. That's a good thing, too.
Almost to 10,000.
And then when you hear that word nominal.
Go ahead, Mike, I'm sorry.
When you hear that word nominal coming, no, it's fine. When you hear that word nominal, that's always good. That's the NASA jargon for everything is A-OK. We're looking good, just like we expect. So we want to keep hearing that for a few more minutes and get those engines cut and get them in space safely.
And there's that 10,000 kilometers per hour threshold, which is just over 6,200 miles per hour. And the picture on the right, I have to keep reminding myself that that's a live shot. It looks like the greatest science fiction movie ever produced. It's just so fantastic that the launch was a go today and has been a success so far. Really, really amazing stuff. David Curley, what's the feeling like on the ground? Are you seeing the first stage rocket at all coming back?
Not yet. You can see it. It's got about another 3 minutes until it'll do its entry burn, and there are 9 Merlin rocket engines on that.
Nominal trajectory.
They say everything is normal with their trajectory, meaning they're heading onto the right path to try and get on the effort to catch up to the space station. So you're seeing in the first stage, you can see those grid fins that you mentioned, Chris Jacobs, that will help guide it. But at 8:45, so plus 8:45, coming up in about 2 minutes, you'll see 3 of those 9 engines fire to slow it down. The first stage doesn't have any of that protection when it comes back into the atmosphere. So the way they overcome that is by firing the engines and slowing it down enough that when it re-enters the atmosphere, it won't burn up. And it'll be a 34-second burn of that entry stage of those 3 engines to bring us in. And seeing some of these pictures of Doug and Bob in the capsule is just remarkable. We haven't seen a lot of American astronauts.
Stage 2 propulsion is still good.
And just to clarify, that picture on the left is the Stage 2 rocket propelling the Crew Dragon capsule. The picture on the right is actually the Stage 1 Falcon 9 rocket returning to Earth. So those are actually moving in opposite directions as we pass the 15,000 kilometers per hour mark, which is approaching 9,400 miles per hour.
You know, Chris, SpaceX would love to get this booster back. And as we mentioned earlier, they learn a lot when they get these rockets back and take a look at them. But it is secondary. That's the picture on your left. The second stage, as Massimino said, that's what you want to burn. You want that burn to go exactly as it should on the right trajectory. This was an instantaneous launch. They had to go at the right time. There's your start of your entry burn on the right.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
It's a little bit early, but they're coming.
Falcon 9 rocket is coming in hot,
this is the burn that's,
literally.
Yeah, this slows it down. This will go on for about 35 seconds, as I mentioned, just to slow it down. And if you watch those grid fins, you can start to see them kind of move. And that's what keeps this, as we heard earlier in one of the pieces, you know, landing a pencil, that's what keeps it north and south or up and down as it's coming down back into land. And it is landing on a drone ship in the Atlantic.
Start to move. Nearly 22,000
that burn is over.
per
The next
hour
thing we're going to see,
Terminal guidance.
we will see at 9:27
MVAC throttle step.
plus. Everything's good, they say. That's what Those are the reports from Mission Control. So coming up in about a minute, we'll see the final burn. And as Davenport has told us before, you don't always get to see the landing because, you know, you got a camera that's getting shaken, and, you know, this is a rocket, actually, that's coming back to there. You lost the picture. That's kind of what happens.
And there's the 25,000 kilometers per hour, which is 15,534 miles per hour. So, again, continuing to accelerate as they make their way to orbit.
MVAC throttle step. MVAC shut down.
There's the second stage engine cutoff right there. And that will be jettisoned.
That's good news,
soon
Chris.
as well.
That means that they've got
Dragon
their
SpaceX nominal orbital insertion.
there they go.
Launch escape system is disarmed.
That's great news. And that's even better news. So they're in the orbit they're supposed to be in. They have just de-armed the escape system. They are where they're supposed to be at the right time. And in a couple of minutes, we will see separation of the Dragon and loss of that second stage. That's really good news. And Chris, you asked a little bit about the atmosphere down here. There were some people here, even though they didn't open the gates, who were applauding as that Falcon 9 took off and really rattled our
signal
chests.
Newfoundland.
And it looks like Falcon 9 has returned successfully to that drone ship. Just amazing, amazing technology that quickly, in under 10 minutes, that Falcon 9 rocket has propelled Doug and Bob into orbit and has returned safely to its drone trip. I mean, hats off to SpaceX for developing that technology. Truly incredible. Now, Mike Massimino, if you'd like to
Sorry,
weigh
I
in
wasn't paying attention.
if you'd like to weigh in at this stage, Mike Massimino, Bob and Doug now, you can see they're experiencing weightlessness. They're breaking out their mementos that they've brought from home. What are they experiencing right now?
Utter joy is what it is, and I'm very happy for them. This is great coverage. Those cameras we have, that's another advancement. We didn't have those cameras in the shuttle program. We had, like, we used to call it a lipstick camera. One camera we'd mount on the back of one of the flight engineers, and that's all you had. Now we've got them all over the vehicle, inside the cabin, outside, on the rocket. It's just a wonderful experience we all can share in. But they are feeling utter joy. They are euphoric. They are sublime. They are really happy that they got through that launch system, through that launch sequence. They're really happy to be in orbit and to bring the United States back. Both of these guys are military officers. Bob from the Air Force, Doug a Marine. They are so happy to have done this from American soil again. It's a great day, not just for the United States, but for the whole world, to have the capability to launch from the U.S. again with people inside. And they are just so proud and so grateful that so many people made this possible for them to be a part of. And so they're happy that they're there, and they're proud of being on the team, and they are very, very grateful for what we've done today. And all of us can be proud of what we accomplished today.
Mike, just 11 and a half minutes into their 19-hour journey, so a lot longer to go before they reach the ISS. What do they do now for the next 18 hours and 50 minutes?
Yeah, they get ready. You know, they have to transfer to an orbital stage. We used to call it post-insertion. I'm sure they still call it the same thing. There's usually no rest for the weary. There's plenty of things to do. They're going to have to set up their cockpit so they can get ready to do their rendezvous. They're probably going to get some rest coming up here, I would think, before they do rendezvous, the final rendezvous in docking.
Copy.
They'll probably maybe
Dragon
get something
separation
in,
confirmed.
see how they're feeling. That's the other thing. It's been a while since either of these guys have been in space. Doug, it's been almost 9 years, and Bob maybe just a little bit longer than that. I was a Capcom for his last flight. So they've got to get their space legs back, and sometimes you don't feel as well as you'd like when you first unstrap, because your body's getting used to it. Your vestibular system is not working any longer. But I think these guys will probably be just fine. So hopefully they're feeling well. They'll get what they can done. Continue with the checklist. Get right into it right away. And there's really there's probably not much rest. If it's anything like it was with the shuttle, I'm sure it is. They have to go right into the orbital phase as soon as they can.
Now, Mike, we just heard from Launch Control that they confirmed Dragon separation, meaning that stage 2 has now been jettisoned from the capsule. So these guys are truly autonomous now in the capsule. It's a self-propelling capsule, self-driving capsule, but these guys can also control it, and they're going to be doing that along the way to the International Space Station, correct?
proud of you guys and the rest of the team.
Yeah, especially for this flight.
Thank you
this
so
is a
much
test
for what
flight.
you've done for us
so
today,
they're going to
putting
be trying
America
to put it
back
through its
into
paces.
low
They
Earth
want to
orbit
learn
up
as much
from
as they
the
can
Florida
about
coast.
this vehicle.
Copy out. Good luck and Godspeed.
And we just heard Doug and Bob communicating with Launch Control, giving them their thanks. Launch Control, of course, responded.
In Dragon
Good luck,
SpaceX, we confirm nominal Eclipse activation and service section Draco checkouts. Nose cone deploys in progress.
Now, they mentioned that
Chris,
the
I can tell you
nose cone deployed there is in progress. The nose cone will actually open up, and that will help them with navigation on their way to the ISS. Mark, and I understand that Bob and Doug have opened their visors inside the Crew Dragon capsule. I believe that gives them a view. Mike Massimino, I want to bring you in because you're the only one who knows firsthand what they must be experiencing. What are they looking out on right now?
Well, the thing you want to do as soon as you get to orbit is unstrap and take a look. If you need to unstrap or look through the window, you want to take a look and look back at our beautiful planet. It is extraordinary. We can see pictures, we can see some high fidelity video, but there's nothing like being there and actually seeing it. And when I looked at our planet from space, what I thought to myself was, this must be what heaven looks like. It is an absolute paradise. And you can look and see the blackness of space in the other direction. We've checked out the neighborhood. You realize we only have this one option. It's very fragile. You see that thin atmosphere. If you think of the Earth as an onion, the top layer, that top skinny layer of the onion is the size relationship of the atmosphere of our planet to our planet. You see that. You can see that in these images. And you realize how lucky we are to be here. And it changed my view of how I feel about our home. It's a home we all share, and it is an absolute paradise. So that's what they're looking at.
And we're getting a really nice picture of that on our feed right now, I presume, from where Bob and Doug are up on the Crew Dragon capsule. David Curley, please weigh in. Give us a sense of what it's like down there at Cape Canaveral. I mean, of course, relief, major joy. What's the feeling like right now?
Yeah, it is all those things and more, Chris. I mean, with the anticipation Wednesday and then the scrub and then the forecast being, oh, we're probably going to have to go another day. As we got closer and closer to countdown, you could sense the anticipation and just the excitement of a rocket launch. And I have to tell you, everything's dissipated now, but watching that rocket take off, and as I mentioned a little earlier, there's a delay. The speed of sound is fast, but it's not that fast, and it took a while for the sound to hit us. And then the vibration, that rocket fuel and oxygen, when it's burning, it's just, you can feel it. It's just trying to rip the air apart. It was fantastic to see these guys get to the place they wanted to be at the right time. They've done all that. Now, it's a 19-hour journey to the space station, and Massimino talked about it a little bit. They have specific things they are doing, because this is a test mission. They're going to make sure it's a habitable environment inside the capsule of Dragon. They're going to try and eat, drink, and, as somebody at SpaceX said earlier, do whatever kind of bio work they have to do. And then they want to sleep. NASA wants them to sleep. Everybody wants them to sleep. See if you can sleep inside this capsule. We had not seen something before. If you watch some of those pictures, when we were seeing in the capsule, we actually saw those sleek spacesuits, which are pressure suits, blown up with air. They're a little capsule within a capsule, which was kind of interesting. And one other thing, as you watch this mission, I noticed something that I hadn't seen before. You see those 3 screens. There's a little rest where they put their fingers. I saw Doug Hurley do this a little time. Another detail of design from SpaceX as these gentlemen get ready to catch up and dock with the space station. Very important. As Chris Davenport said, there are milestones on this mission that must be met by SpaceX in order to get this spacecraft certified. Chris?
Those little creature comforts, they don't miss anything at SpaceX. Very, very cool, very great information, David. I appreciate that. It's hard to believe that this went off so well. I'm so happy, so excited.
Nose cone opening and Draco checkups.
Amazing, amazing pictures being sent back to us from up above where they are on their way to the International Space Station. And, you get a sense there of just how large Earth is, because they're moving at roughly 17,000 miles an hour while these pictures are being shot. David Curley, I believe you have some information for us. What do you got?
I got to tell you, NASA is ecstatic. We just heard from the administrator who says, you know, he's needless to say, I wanted to say over the moon, but not quite over the moon, even though he'd like to get astronauts to the moon. He said, though, that he is breathing a huge sigh of relief. But he's not going to really celebrate until Doug and Bob are back on the planet. And I have to tell you, you know, we showed the pictures earlier of the astronauts coming out in their suits and doing that little virtual hug with their children. And Elon Musk was asked about, you know, how important is a manned mission versus all the cargo stuff you have done. And he said he even talked to those two boys. Behnken has a 6-year-old, Hurley has a 10-year-old. And Elon was asked, what did you say to them? And he says, we're doing our best to make sure they come home safely. And SpaceX, this mission had a lot more weight on it. The president of SpaceX said that even in the work orders that the engineers were doing in the factories that were building Crew Dragon and the Falcon 9 rocket, they had Doug and Bob's pictures on the work orders, so they knew what they were doing here, who they were trying to protect. So this has been a great start. Now we see if the docking goes off without any hitch in about 18.5 hours from now. They will be flying this capsule a couple of times. In free flight now, Doug Hurley will take control because this isn't autonomous. It's like a Tesla. You could go anywhere you want to. He'll fly then, and then he'll fly a little bit before they dock to make sure they can take over in case the computers fail. Chris?
Thank you very much, David Curley. You know what? Remember this day, because you're going to remember exactly where you were when SpaceX launched their Crew Dragon into space.
We are waiting on
May 30th,
cabin environments to stabilize before suit docking. Right now we're just tracking.
What is the next milestone for Elon Musk and his SpaceX team? We're going to find out. Plus, an exclusive send-off featuring Katy Perry's new song. That's all when we come back with more Space Launch Live.